Mark, a bit like Wycombe the other day, Forest Green, a place where the U's don't have the best record, so go there and get a similar result.
Yeah, I hope so. I listened to Ian's press conference yesterday. I'm probably similar every week, and everyone says the same thing. You want both teams will be fighting for a victory, certainly where we are in the position we're in at the moment. 20th game of the season, so a good one to have a bit of a marker of where we are. So we certainly go all out to try and get definitely a point scoring day, but we want to go there and win the game if we can. And I know that sometimes records are sort of spoken about in lots of different ways, but tend not to buy too much into that unless it goes in our favour, obviously.
And looking at recent records, of course, you can dress form and stats up in a number of different ways depending on how you look at it. You were talking about really dialing in on the league run, given that that's the key competition from here on in. And actually, 3 of the past 4 league games, you're going to be to varying degrees pretty happy with the performances, particularly given where you're at the moment. So it gives you a bit of a starting point.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in it, we've got to play better, score more goals, get more results, turn losses into draws. That's the reality of where we are right now. And then when you step out of it a little bit, you can say 4 points from the last 4 league games. This is the last game in a block of 5 for us. That if it went really well, we'd be in a really strong position. If the best thing could happen at the weekend and we could win the game, we'd find ourselves on the same number of points after 20 games as we were last season. So in terms of the big picture stuff and where we need to be in the season to achieve what we want, we're not too far behind in terms of points, but certainly performances, we know we've got to put together that consistency in order to get the results that we need and get a run of point scoring days, because we've obviously had some difficult ones along the way there. So what's the last few weeks has allowed us to do is do a little bit of work training wise. We got to see the benefit of some of that last weekend, but not the final part. And we've tried to work a little bit on that this week. So we'll see if we can get to a point at the weekend that all of it can come together and we can be on the right side of the result. And then things settle down a little bit between, really, other than Christmas week, knowing now that this is our only competition. There's very few midweek games in the calendar now, with I think 1 in February, maybe a couple later on in the season. So we're pretty much Saturday to Saturday for the majority of the season now, which is a complete shift change from what the first half of the season's been, which gives us a chance to train and recharge and get some real competition into the squad and some work into the squad. So we look forward to that as that plays out, and I think we'll really benefit from that, because the heavy schedule, the real load of games has been a real tough challenge for us and pushed us too far really and stretched us a little bit too far in the opening part of the season. So yeah, I mean, we certainly want to improve on where we are, but when you think there's 27 games to go, that's a heck of a lot of points to play for.
Yeah, and as a manager, I mean, amazing really to have got so far in your career and not really have to deal with a bad run of form at all. At some point it's going to come. I guess there's always that difficulty, and you've touched upon it, that when you head home, it's such an all-encompassing thing being a football manager that it can eat away at you. But have you managed to deal with it all right? Are you happy with how you've processed what's been a difficult couple of months?
Oh, look at the state of me. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I've dealt with it quite well. I think in the end, no one is more frustrated when it doesn't go well than we are, because it's a job and we judge ourselves by the result and the outcome at a weekend. So everybody's frustrated and wants to do well. But we work incredibly hard in terms of trying to influence performances, and the sunny uplands that we've had over the last couple of years, there was always going to be a storm somewhere along the way. I think what we've done brilliantly over a couple of years is we've stopped runs from building in a negative way, and we've put a stop to results, and we haven't been able to do that in this little period, and there's a lot of contributing factors to that probably. But at the same time, we haven't got a squad now that isn't competitive, that can't do it, and we've not turned into coaches or staff or players that are not capable. We've just got to find that rhythm again in our game. And I think that we've dealt with that reasonably well. We've probably had spells in there where it's hung over us a little bit too much, or the shirt's got a bit heavier because of it. or the pressure builds, or the confidence dips, or the work ethic goes, or the bravery and risk taking in the attacking third disappears a little bit, but it can come flooding back quite quickly. For all of us, it's been an excellent challenge to see how people respond, how we still train, what the atmosphere is like around the place, who drops a little bit and who really steps up and drags the team through it. And for the club as a challenge, for the first time in 3 years where we've had this little challenge of really difficult periods, how people respond to that, and whether we stick to the big picture plan, which is never really altered one bit from us internally. We know exactly where we want to get to, and we think we know where we are in the curve at the moment and what the next steps are. So the job now is to knuckle down and turn in a few results in the short term, because obviously that has a big impact on what happens next. But we know we're capable of doing that, and the task will be to do that as soon as possible.
Now, I don't suppose necessarily Gary would thank me for mentioning this, but obviously he's had periods in his managerial and coaching career previously where it hasn't gone to plan. Is that where having somebody on the coaching staff with that direct experience is really handy? Has that been useful?
Well, I think so. I think number one, any experiences that you have is important. So staff's experiences, yes. Players' experiences, yes. You know, some might have not gone through it here, but we've gone through it. I've been through those periods a number of times, just not as the manager, but I've been an assistant manager or a coach in teams that have had really difficult times here over a decade. So it's not like it's something that we're not used to. And I think the biggest thing is, whilst we understand it's really important and we are under pressure to get results and we have to perform and all of those things, it isn't a baggage that I carry every day of my life, because I think in the end, you know that you're secure in yourself, and you know that your players are good people and want to do well. And for lots of different contributing factors, performances can dip. In the end, what's got us success and got us results in the past, I think you just go back to that as a default, and you make sure that you get time to do the things that are really important. And in the last week or two, we've been able to spend time that we haven't had for months, really. A little bit because of design, or a little bit just because of time constraints or player availability. And I hope that pays off over the next few weeks, and I'm pretty sure it will. We've got a lot of time between games coming up, and I think we've always benefited from that in the past. So the sooner we can get the next result and the next positive point scoring day, the better, because it just changes the mentality straight away. I think the big difference is when this run started, we played a lot of the top teams at once. We always knew that was going to be difficult. Then some of the games that we'd have hoped to have got results from were maybe game 3 in a week, which we've always found difficult when you've played the top ones first 2 games. Then we've played against teams where we've been the possession dominant team, or we've been allowed the ball, and that isn't something that we've been built really around and for. So that's caused us a bit of a challenge in understanding. So I think there's loads of reasons why we are where we are. But if the best thing happens on Saturday and we win the game, we're in the same position we were in last season after 20 games. If the worst thing happens on Saturday, we're 3 points shy of that. Well, that can change very, very quickly. So in the big picture of things, we need the results and performances to pick up consistently. But if we were to get a result on Saturday and to have 7 points from the last 5 league games, that gets you mid-table, and that's where we were in the majority of last season. So in this little block of league games, we're not actually a million miles away where we need to be. The previous block of 5, obviously we lost all 5, and that was a really brutal spell. And in amongst this, we've had some disappointing performances or results in cup competitions that have swayed everything, and the negative energy can pick up quite quickly. But I'm fairly optimistic and energetic that that the sunny uplands will be back.
Talking of some of the difficulties, clearly the injury list has been one. Without giving away anything you don't want to give away, you in much the same position. Hasn't got any worse heading into this one. No worse.
Ibsen Rossi's trained all week, so he'll be available at the weekend, which is great. So it's another addition to the squad. We don't now expect any of the injured players back until after Christmas and into the new year. So we certainly see, hopefully in the new year, Brandon, Liam, and Dimmy back. Obviously the other ones, Fajiri and Adam, are longer term than that, but otherwise we've got everybody else available. And most importantly, I think we've had the majority of those players able to train every day for the last week or 10 days in most cases, so that's helped us quite a bit as well. So we hope that will really start to pay off over the next few weeks.
Let's talk about a real positive from last night. What a game in the FA Youth Cup. The lads showing loads of character and obviously the skill as well to go and get the win.
Yeah, it was an entertaining game for sure. Loads of goals and loads of action. I wasn't buzzing when it went to extra time, to be honest, because that made it an even longer and later finish to the day. But however, obviously the fact that we got the equaliser right at the end from a penalty and then took it to extra time and then won the game really in the first 5-10 minutes of extra time, that boys played well. So yeah, always great nights there. And I think the Youth Cup's about going and playing in really good arenas. So away to Colchester in the next round, Jimmy and the boys and all the staff have done great. I know firsthand how much work goes into that and how important it is to the players, because it can be sometimes your best experiences of your career. It's no guarantee what comes next. So great occasions, and it was a good game to watch. It was nice to sit. I watched the game with Ben Strang, watched it with Danny and Nicky Cowley, Michael Morrison. So a few people that catch up with and enjoyed the game, and obviously went and saw the boys after the game to wish them well, and they were absolutely buzzing, as you'd expect.
Without wanting to put any pressure on any of the young lads you've got, have you got a few special ones there? Is that a really good group?
We think it's a good group, yeah. I mean, special is a dangerous word to use because they'll get ahead of themselves and get carried away. They're a long way from being in our first team. That's the reality of it. The next level is a huge jump, and the qualities that you need are vast, really. So we've got good players in that level and at that age group for sure, and we've got a stronger group than we've had for a while. And a lot of those boys have actually played in the Youth Cup for a while. It was a young team that went well in the competition last year. So in fact, they carry a bit more pressure and expectation this year, which is a brilliant challenge for them to see if, now that there's a bit more expected of them, how do they cope with that? That's always a good challenge. But there's certainly a few in there that we like, and I think probably displayed by the fact that some of those are playing adult and senior football younger than we've done that in the past, or at a higher level than we've done that in the past. But we've seen the benefit of, say, Liam Bennett as a young professional go and be our first player to go and play in League 2 through the academy on loan. And then you've got Kai Yearn playing in the Conference South as a 17-year-old, scoring at the weekend, another really good level. If he can get in that team and hold down the level in a team that's doing well, that's a really exciting for us.
And just a quick word on Greg's testimonial as well. Obviously going to be a great evening for him and well deserved. And I know we've said plenty about Greg in the past, but a good night for him. Yeah,
absolutely. I really hope we get a good following up to the game. It's there's not a very good game on the telly for the World Cup that night, and West Ham will bring a strong side. They'll bring the boys that aren't at the World Cup, so we expect them to have a strong squad. We expect West Ham to bring a number of fans. I think we're nearly on 2,000 so far of pre-sales, so we're hoping to get to around a 3,000 crowd if we can get that with home and away fans. There's a lot of West Ham fans in the area, so I'm hoping that they want to come and see their players play, being starved of watching them a little bit. And Cambridge fans or young supporters in the city come and watch some Premier League players play. In the end, I think that's what the night's about, and to obviously give Greg a bit of an occasion that he deserves. I mean, I think testimonials, I often say, are rare, and we've had Josh Coulson, Harrison Dunk, Greg Taylor in recent years that have celebrated those, and I think that longevity is really important because it builds your connections and your culture in your club, and Greg's been really important in that. And obviously we spoke recently about the impact of him in the team, but how difficult it can be when you're out for such a long period of time. I mean, the last full season that he played every game in the team that got promoted as the captain and was outstanding. And so he's certainly deserving of the occasion, and I hope it's a really enjoyable evening. We're obviously delighted that West Ham have brought a team and that David's been so welcoming to organise the game. We wanted to do something in the summer, but when we just couldn't get the right game and one that would generate a crowd, we sort of looked at the World Cup and thought this is a real opportunity that a team might want a game. So it might not be perfect timing for us, but it's certainly perfect timing for Greg and the testimonial game.
Cool, that's great for me.
Mark, just on that testimonial, are you able to say if there's going to be some guest players playing alongside the first team? Or
no, there isn't. No, it's just our team, our squad, and then obviously West Ham. I think will be a strong squad. So it's just like a friendly game really between us and them. There's no headline appearances. No.
Okay. What do you make of Forest Green as a side?
Yeah, very good with the ball. They've been a team built off an in-possession strategy. You can tell, very, very comfortable, progress the game well, probably out past the opposition quite often, build from deep in the pitch very well. I've got lots of technical players, very good players and quality in wide areas. And they've got in Jamil Matt, Connor Wickham, Josh Marsh, high up the pitch, players that can cause you a problem. But at the same time, they've shown some vulnerabilities that we've got to try and exploit in the game. So I think it will be a really interesting game. I think what you see is, you can go back to the game, probably us against Accrington, probably at the time of the year and when teams are maybe struggling a little bit. The game overall can sometimes lack that little bit of spark or quality because teams are desperate to not be beat. And I think the challenge for us is to make sure the shirt isn't heavy and we go into the game with a bit of freedom to go and have a right go at it and put on a performance that gives us a chance of getting points and winning the game. That's our intent, to go there and get a result.
You spoke about it's interesting to see how the players are responding in this form. How have they responded in training and things like that?
Training, great. Yeah, the last couple of weeks have been excellent. Good drive, good work ethic, good togetherness. Monday morning was a really good session. Tuesday, very good session. And I'd say the same last week. The key is, and that's where you can get your work and your confidence back on the training ground. The key is that when you put the match shirt on, that there's no change to that, and we transfer that into the pitch. So our work at the training ground has been really good work. I think that Gary, Barry, Taff, they've put on some really good sessions and worked with the players well. We've done some excellent analysis work over recent weeks that we think will bear fruit for us in the future. And the key is just transferring that into match days, which is obviously our job, and the next stage of making sure that we put that work into good action and gets us the right results at weekends.